6.24. Nice. That's why we come to Chickamauga, bud. Awesomeness. All right, so let's talk about fishing submerged grass. This is submerged. It's got a little bit of matted stuff up in it. Matted meaning there's some dead stuff or some stuff that broke loose that's sitting on top that creates a big canopy. Now this submerged vegetation, the reason I'm fishing it is because it's broken up. There's a spot, you know, there's a clump here, clump here, clump here. There's just scattered clumps. And that gives an ideal place for these bass to position and ambush their prey, and it causes the prey to have to, you know, the bait fish to have to go in and out of the grass, and just an ideal location, real close to a deep spot on this, you know, the creek channel or river channel, whatever it is right here. But the deep water is real close. When you're working an area like this really slow and you're not getting bit, please just, I beg you, stay with it. Just stay in that area or stay with that big spot, because there may be, I mean, this is 400, 500 yards of grass, and there may be a spot 30 feet by 30 feet that's holding a ton of big ones. I think that's what I've got up here because I just keep seeing fish schooling. But, you know, it's a needle in a haystack thing. They're gonna be in one spot or two spots depending, you know, but just keep going around, and then once you get bit, you stay with that spot. And that's what I didn't do right here because I drifted off, I was retying. But I'm working my way back up to this spot, and this is a high spot on this point or on this ledge. And I think that's why the bass are here mostly, is just because it's a high spot. Oh, that might have been a bit. Bite. Yep. Get out of there. Come on. As soon as I got back in there. And it's a good one. Oops, sorry, good. Sorry, guy. Oh, and it's a good one, too. Man. All right, so what I think I have is just a big old school of fish sitting right here. So if I had power poles right now, which I don't, I just sit real still. I drop my power poles and I'd flip this whole area. He hit as soon as it hit the bottom. So they're associated to the bottom or real close to the bottom and not afraid to feed off of it. So I'm gonna keep letting it fall all the way to the bottom. The lures that you can use for submerged vegetation, if you're fishing a pond, or if you're fishing milfoil, hydrilla, anything, but if you're fishing a pond with submerged vegetation, I always recommend the Mojo rig. I don't have one tied on. It's a finesse technique, and I have a video about it. I'll put the link in the description so you guys can watch it. But it is basically a Carolina rig, ultralight Carolina rig that you can fish along the top of the grass. You run the risk of breaking off, you know, breaking off good fish, but I've caught a 9.98 pound bass on a Mojo rig out of the grass with 8-pound test fluorocarbon. So it can be done. You just have to get lucky. But it catches big fish, it catches all kinds of fish. It's also the rig that I recommend if you've never caught a bass before. You know, one of those rigs where you can just tie it up, go fish it, and you will eventually get bit. And that's why I recommend the Mojo rig for that. But other things that I might fish in the grass, a lipless crankbait is really good because you can rip it through Hydrilla. Milfoil is a little bit more difficult to rip through, so I don't typically fish it in milfoil. Spinnerbait can be fished in everything, and with this spinnerbait, especially the one today, I just caught that 6-pounder on it. I get some really small blades because that's about the size of the bait fish, about 1.5 inches. And so I try to match the size of the blades with the size of the bait fish, and I also try to downsize, trim the skirt up, downsize everything so it looks smaller. I don't want it to be a 10 times bigger than the bait that they're actually feeding on. And what I'm fishing right now is I'm fishing a flipping bait. This is a 3/4 ounce tungsten. I've got a little punch skirt on there. I usually don't use a punch skirt, but it's really It gives me a little bit more action when it hits the bottom, and the bass are feeding on the bottom right now. So it hits the bottom, it flares open, and gives me a little bit more action. I love an exo stick when I'm flipping because it's a real skinny, narrow bait, punches through the thick stuff real easy. But when it falls, it spins. The little tail right here just kind of does this number, not that drastic, but it has a little spin to it. And I like that. It tends to get a little bit more strikes on the fall when it does that. Another one I throw, and I've got one tied on, is a rage bug. Rage bug is really good because it's a small profile bait if I want to downsize a little bit and flip in. I've also got it on a heavier weight, 1.5 ounces, to punch into these mats, which is what I'll do when I get way over there where that bass keeps surfacing up on that mat. But anyway, so those are the baits. Other baits that you can throw, just about any creature bait with a skinny little head. A vial craw is really good because it cuts through that grass and it has a little spiral as it drops if you have it on a lighter weight. Speed craw, baby brush hog, little creature bait with a little narrow head, a little narrow body. Something that punches through that grass. And as you're going through, if you find that your bait is having a hard time going through the grass or growing, getting all the way to the bottom, you got to change something up. Change your bait first of all, then change how you've got it rigged. Peg your sinker. It's what I have on both of these. Have my sinkers pegged. I've got a real good video about punching that I'll link in the description also. So you guys can go watch that and see how I rig up this rig, And I always go with the lightest weight I can possibly get away with. And then I just spend a whole lot of time punching through. The rod, this is a medium heavy, 7'3". The one with the heavier weight on is a heavy action 7'3", I think, or a 7'6" heavy. Both have 65-pound braid on it, Cigar punching braid. This has Smackdown, that has punching braid. High-speed reel so I can get it back to me. I'm going to be making a ton of these little pitches over and over and over again, so I want to be able to get the bait back to me really quick so I can make another cast to another place. I'm going to be picking this grass clean, so the more casts that I can make, the better. And then while I'm casting, and while I'm dropping it in here, I'm trying different things. I'm trying to, let it sink to the bottom. Let it sit there for a second. Figure out when I get bit. If I get bit on the fall almost every time, that's what I'm going to keep doing. 2 times. If I get bit on the fall 2 times, I'm going to just drop it down, let it sink to the bottom, sit there for a half a second, bring it back up, and make another pitch. But if as I'm experimenting, I drop it down, I let it sit on the bottom for 1, 2, 3 seconds, and I shake it, and then I get bit, that's what I'm going to do for a while until I determine that's what the fish's mood is, and that's what they want to do. Ideal conditions for this: sunny days with wind, and we don't have wind today. The wind would break up my outline, break up my red boat, my red hat, make it a little bit more difficult for the bass to see me. They wouldn't spook so much, and they'd be feeding a little bit better. They get into the shade of this grass when that sun comes out, and it positions the fish, and it makes it really easy to pinpoint them. And then you can go to each little clump and say, okay, this clump has, the grass is leaning this way out of the clump, and so there's shade up underneath there, and I'm going to pitch, to every little place where the grass, like right here, where the grass leans over. I'm going to let it fall down right next to that spot. That's where the shade is on these clumps. I wish I could get underneath there and show it to you. The water clarity is not very good here. So, but another key thing is just be patient. Be patient. These fish aren't going anywhere. They found a nice little home for them to hang out in. Turn your electronics off. I got the back one off. I probably should turn the front one off. And then just work your way around real slow. If you can't pitch, learn how. It's another video I'll put down there. Learn how to pitch. Because you get that low trajectory, real quiet entry. And that way you don't spook these fish so much. So, not bad. All right, well, I'm going to fish a little bit and leave the camera on. Hopefully I can catch some here in just a minute. And I expect as the sun gets higher, of course it's 1 o'clock, so the sun's already high, but as I expect the day to get longer and longer, they move tighter and tighter and tighter into the heaviest cover. You know, so earlier this morning I was pitching to the outside edges, and now I'm concentrating more on the thicker stuff, okay? And that brings up another point. I said I was going to turn the camera off, but I'm not. Brings up another point. If I'm traveling along a submerged grass bed, and there's an obvious edge, which there is right now, I'm at 8.5 feet of water, there's no grass underneath me, but there's grass right there. Bass are creatures of edges, kind of like deer. Deer like to travel edges of things. Edges of fields, breaks in, you know, between two types of trees. Bass are the same way. Concentrate on those edges. You know, there'll be times where the bass are right on the outside edge feeding. Those are the ones that are more likely to feed, the ones that are on the outside edge. And then later in the day or further in the day, as it gets sunnier and sunnier, they move deeper and deeper and deeper into the thick stuff. So just keep checking. Are they on the outside? Are they inside edge? Are they on what, you know, on the shady side of the clump, on the sunny side of the clump? Everything is a pattern. Everything can be a pattern. And so break it down. And then you can duplicate it and you can speed up the process of finding fish in these clumps once you realize where they like to position on it. Now, another thing about the grass, if you are fishing grass and you pull some up and you see that it's nasty and brown and everything else and you can't find any nice pretty green grass, more than likely there's not a whole lot of oxygen there, especially with milfoil. Milfoil, as it dies off, the bass will leave. That's a really good pattern in the late summer, early fall, especially in Georgia, is that I'll go around the lake looking for the greenest grass I can find. And as I find that green grass, I know there's oxygen there, and that's going to concentrate the bass. So the less green grass there is, a lot of times it's a whole lot better. And I'm going to fish the greenest stuff I can find. Now the outside edge of this is, God, here's a little one. Outside edge of this, this grass is dying off. So the inside, I don't know yet. I haven't gotten deep in there yet, but I don't think it is. There's going to be some green grass in here. But it's a very good pattern. Well, guys, I lost my wind right in the middle of this video. And the wind was critical for this bite. So I'm going to go figure something else out. Maybe I can do a video about whatever I figure out, or how I figure it out. Who knows? Anyway, this is how I fish grass that's submerged. That's not quite topped out yet, or there might be a few mats here and there. That's how I do it. Remember to subscribe to my channel. Also check out my Fishing Shirt of the Month Club. This month's winner gets a trip with me. So you might want to go sign up. $10 a month for a shirt, goodness gracious. Anyway, like I always say, be sure to introduce somebody to fishing. Introduce them to my channel, let me help you teach them how to fish. More importantly, get out of the water, go out and catch some fish, and have a great day. See ya. Caught it on my new frog rod. The one I designed for 13. Oh, right off the edge of the grass. Man. Subscribe to my channel. I just want to teach you how to catch these. Ah!